What is going on, everybody? We've got a patch. It's Tuesday, comic release. We will play the comic tomorrow, because more importantly, we got balance changes. We don't get balance changes that often, so this is a pretty big deal, and you can probably already see the little teaser right there. One of the most popular cards in the game is getting adjusted. Here we have Appetite for Conquest that is being nerfed. It is changing to give enemy recruits everywhere -1 attack, give your recruits everywhere +1 health, and draw a card. Now, this is huge, because Appetite was probably the single most, deck-killing card in the game. I know, personally, the Harley Wonder Woman aggro deck I play, if an opponent either 10th metaled out Appetite, or even if they just played Appetite, period, half your deck was dead. And it wasn't just that half your deck was dead, it was you couldn't get the cards on the board, but on top of that, you also would draw a card, and the card would essentially be unplayable. So Appetite's power was twofold. It was both the on-board effect, but also what it did to your deck, which made it super powerful, and that's not even counting the buffs on the other side. This brings it down quite a bit. The draw card does help. I don't know if it's going to be able to break through. I think this will be reserved specifically for Tyranny decks, kind of slower mid-range Tyranny decks that are mainly trying to win on the board. Appetite could probably still be played in those decks because that +1 health, -1 attack means you're trading that much more efficiently. But now Appetite is not just a win condition on its own, which I think is more than fair, and I'm actually quite happy to see that change. Plus, Tyranny has enough good gold cards that even if they quote-unquote lose one, they still have plenty. Next up, we've got Robin. So we've got the best Tyranny card in the game getting changed, and potentially the best Tactics card in the game getting changed. Robin is going from a 5/5 down to a 5/4. As the notes mention, by the way, love that they gave us these designer notes. I hope they continue to do this. He dies to things like Energy Blast and Hellblaze, but also, things like Batarang plus Batman Swing, or Lightning Bolt and Ambush Bug, or Double Lightning Bolt. There's a lot of things now that you can set up to trade with Robin more efficiently, whereas the 5 health before was just a more difficult breakpoint, especially when you account for his evade. But also Robin trading into your things now. I still think he's going to be one of the better silvers in the game. Damn near an auto-include in most Tactics decks, just because charging both your leaders is such a strong ability, and a 5/4 with evade is still pretty strong. It just should make countering Robin a little bit more reliable. And now you don't necessarily need a Lightning Arc to answer him. And next up, we've got a buff. We've got Superboy. He was going from a 5/4 up, or 4/4 up to a 5/4. This makes him a very strong silver. On the surface, you get the Mera activation, which you previously did not have, which is already enough of a reason to consider running a particular card in your Might decks because of the Mera activation being so powerful and game winning. But on top of that, you have other things. Like, the biggest thing with Superboy was you could play him out, and then something like a Culling would kill him through his shield. Obviously, Culling goes through shields, so him being a 4/4 meant he was in Culling range. Now he is no longer in Culling range. On top of that, outside of being outside of Culling range, he now trades much more efficiently as a silver. He hits the old Robin breakpoint, he hits Solstice. If he gets a +1/+1 through, say, like Wonder Woman or Volko or Hippolyta, he trades into things like Steel or Booster Gold Recruit. He trades into Gold Booster or Gold Recruit without a buff. He trades into Hippolyta without a buff. That +1 attack increases the range of things that Superboy can trade into in the silver range. And then it makes it so that if he gets a +1/+1, and Might has a lot of ways of giving +1/+1, like I said, Volko, Hippolyta, Wonder Woman, Better Tomorrow. If he gets that +1/+1, he basically kills almost every silver in the game outside of Gorilla Grodd and Grid and other Superboys. So I think this is a really big buff. I think you're going to see a lot more Superboy in the future. Next up, we've got Giant Anglerfish. He was a 3/2, he's going down to a 2/2. Basically what that means is Anglerfish cannot activate himself until you Aquaman ability 3 times. Previously it was only twice. So that should make it so essentially Anglerfish almost never will trigger himself, unless you go into a very, very late game. So now it makes it so that he needs to hit your other cards versus him being a high roll in himself on the second activation. This still doesn't bring Aquaman down enough in my opinion, but this is a decent little change to his sea creature package. Next up, we've got Jason Blood, going from a 2/4 up to a 4/5. Honestly, this makes him pretty playable as a silver. A 4/5 isn't the best stats, but if you're playing a spell deck, which you obviously are playing a spell deck if you're playing Jason Blood, this makes it so that you don't necessarily have to play him and the 2 spells in the same turn. Now you potentially could have him survive a turn because a 4/5 is much better stats. And even if your opponent slams a bunch of stuff into him to trade, 4 attack means he can take some stuff down with him. I still think Jason Blood is kind of limited specifically to a spell archetype. If not a dedicated spells like Ivy Zatanna spells, at a minimum, I think he is paired with Zatanna as a whole, since Zatanna can collect some free spells and, activate Jason Blood that way. Next up, we've got 6 Blessings. Previously, it was giving your recruit +1/+1 and a whole host of keywords. Now it is giving your recruit +3/+3. The card is still kind of the same, just with a nice buff. I think the tough thing is it's still kind of a combo card, more or less. But the +3/+3 means that your number of potential combo ideas is solid. It also means that if you were to quote-unquote low roll and hit like a bronze recruit, it's more likely that they can swing and trade again, because an important thing to note about 6 Blessings is it does not give shield. So if your recruit has a blocker, it needs to be able to swing into that blocker and trade again, or else you're not getting like the flurry value or anything like that. Also, the +3/+3 means if you like play it and you get some value, it's harder for your opponent to trade into it because just the little bit of additional stats. I don't know how much of a difference this card is going to make, but it is a good amount more interesting for me. I don't know if it's interesting enough to go back into the Poison Ivy OTK, but I might mix it into some, more mid-rangey, slower mid-range energy decks. And finally, we've got Welcome to Task Force X. It was just +2 attack to your Suicide Squad recruits. Now it is +2/+1. I think this makes this a very solid play if you can get it on turn 1. Being like your Harley Quinn Bronze becomes a 5/4, and 4 attack is a solid breakpoint. Things like Croc get to 5 health, which is better than 4. The little health, I think, makes this a really strong play if you have it early. I think the problem with this card has always been, and probably will continue to be, that if you don't draw this on the first couple turns, it becomes exponentially worse as the game goes on. The health can help with that a little bit, but I still think it's the kind of card that you want to play it early, or the power of it just drops considerably. But at least this is worth more exploration now. So yeah, that's going to be it for now, guys. Let me know what you guys think of the balance changes down below in the comments section. We're going to play the comic tomorrow. We'll talk about the comic card tomorrow as well, after the comic probably. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.